The great hall floated in the darkness of space, orbiting a dying star that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Inside, representatives from 47 different species gathered in a circle that stretched nearly half a kilometer wide. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had bodies of flesh. Others were pure energy contained in crystalline vessels. But today, they all shared one purpose: to declare the death of an entire species. Counselor Mora hovered at the center of the chamber, her form shifting between colors that most species couldn't even name. She was old, even by the standards of beings who could live for thousands of years. She had seen species rise to greatness and fall into dust. Today would be another such moment. "We gather for the bicentennial assessment," Mora announced, her voice translating instantly into 47 different languages through neural implants. "Before us lies the matter of Species 7 Alpha. Designation: Humanity." A hologram materialized above the council floor. It showed a blue and green world, beautiful and vibrant. Earth. Then the image shifted, showing space stations gone dark, colony worlds with empty streets, and ships drifting without power through the void. Archivist Quinn stepped forward, his feathers rustling nervously. He was young for this job, barely 300 years old, his wings folded tight against his body as he addressed the council. "Honored members, I present the evidence for extinction classification." The hologram changed again. Numbers and data streamed through the air. 200 years ago, all human communication ceased. 23 colony worlds, 15 major space stations, 3 mining operations in asteroid belts. All went silent within a span of 48 hours. Counselor Vrex clicked his mandibles together, a sound that made several nearby species flinch. His insectoid body was covered in ancient scars from wars long forgotten. What of their military fleet? Humans were always aggressive, always armed. "Gone," Quinn replied. "Their most advanced fleet, the Exodus fleet, vanished without a trace. We found no debris fields, no distress signals, no evidence of battle." Another counselor spoke up, a being made of living metal. "Perhaps they ascended? Became something beyond physical form?" Quinn shook his head. "We've checked all known ascension signatures. Nothing. We sent probe teams to Earth itself. The cities are empty, but preserved, as if everyone simply walked away one day and never returned." Mora's energy form dimmed slightly, a sign of sadness among her kind. "What of their last ambassador? Taemin, I believe, was his name?" "Ambassador Taemin died 203 years ago," Quinn said softly. "Natural causes, surrounded by his human staff. He was the last official human representative we had contact with. His final message requested that we watch over humanity's legacy should anything happen to them." The chamber fell silent. Even the species that communicated through chemical signals seemed to pause in respect. Counselor Vrex moved closer to the hologram, his multiple eyes examining the data. "I remember humans. They were stubborn, impossible to kill. They survived diseases that would wipe out entire worlds. They colonized planets that would freeze the blood of any sane species. They even survived their own nuclear age." He paused. "It seems wrong that they would simply vanish. But, yet the evidence is clear," another counselor said. 2 centuries of silence. Every investigative team we've sent has found the same thing. Empty colonies, automated systems still running, but no humans. Not living, not dead, simply gone." Mora expanded her form, drawing the attention of the entire council. "Then we must vote. Should humanity be declared extinct and their legacy transferred to the archives of lost civilizations?" One by one, the counselors voted. Some hesitated. Many remembered trading with humans, or fighting alongside them, or even fighting against them. Humans had been loud, emotional, and often reckless. But they had also been innovative, brave, and surprisingly compassionate for such a young species. The final count was unanimous, 47 votes for extinction. Quinn felt his heart sink as he recorded the decision. He had studied humanity extensively for this presentation. Their art, their music, their literature. They had been so vital, so full of life. And now he would be the one to seal their legacy away in the archives, where only historians would remember them. Archivist Quinn, Mora said gently. Please proceed with the archival protocols. Quinn approached the human data vault, a massive crystalline structure that held every piece of information the Council had collected about humanity. Inside were copies of human books, movies, music, scientific discoveries, and cultural records. It was a civilization compressed into data, waiting for anyone who cared to remember. He placed his wing claw on the sealing mechanism. The vault began to glow, preparing to transfer into the deep archives where extinct species were kept. The glow grew brighter, pulsing in rhythm with some cosmic heartbeat. Something is wrong, Vrex said suddenly, his antennae twitching. The ancient monitoring systems along the chamber walls flickered. They were old technology, kept mostly for historical purposes. Most species had moved on to quantum-based sensors centuries ago, but these old systems, built when the Council was young, suddenly sparked to life. A sound echoed through the chamber. It was faint, barely audible, but unmistakable to those who remembered. It was a human distress beacon, broadcasting on frequencies that hadn't been used in 200 years. That's impossible, Quinn whispered. The hologram above the Council floor shifted without anyone commanding it. A new image appeared. A sector of deep space, far beyond the normal boundaries of explored territory. And there, on sensors that shouldn't have been able to detect anything at that distance, was a signal. The signal was massive. Whatever was broadcasting it was enormous, perhaps the size of a small moon, and according to the automated systems, it had just activated moments ago. Mora's form blazed bright with shock. Verify that signal immediately. Technical staff from a dozen species rushed to their instruments. The chamber filled with urgent chittering, clicking, and spoken words. Minutes passed like hours as everyone waited. Finally, a technician looked up, her 3 eyes wide with disbelief. The signal is authentic. It's using old human encryption codes. And Counselor. She paused, her voice shaking. It's a cryo-revival beacon. Someone is waking up. Vrex slammed a limb against his podium. Humans. Of course they're not extinct. They probably planned this whole thing. Calm yourself, Mora commanded. We don't know what this means yet. It could be automated systems, or a small group of survivors, or the signal changed. New data began streaming in, raw and unfiltered. Biosigns, thousands of them, then millions, all human, all showing signs of emerging from deep cryosleep. Quinn stared at the data vault he had almost sealed, the vault that would have locked away humanity's legacy forever, declaring them extinct when somewhere out in the dark, millions of them were waking up after 200 years. What have they done? He whispered. Mora's voice cut through the chaos filling the chamber. Send a fleet to investigate. I want answers. And someone explain to me how an entire species disappears for 2 centuries and then announces its return by lighting up our oldest sensors like a festival beacon. As the Council erupted into arguments and speculation, none of them noticed the smaller details buried in the signal data. Details about dark matter waves, evacuation protocols, and desperate plans. Details about humanity's final gambit to save itself from something the Council had never detected. Out in the darkness of Sector 721, the beacon continued to wake, and deep inside, Commander Hyun opened her eyes for the first time in 200 years, unaware that the galaxy had declared her species extinct. The first thing Commander Hyun felt was cold, not the gentle cool of morning air, but the deep, bone-penetrating cold of cryosleep. Her lungs burned as they remembered how to breathe. Her heart struggled to find its rhythm. Every muscle in her body screamed in protest as warmth slowly returned to her limbs. Red emergency lights flashed above her cryopod. That was wrong. The awakening should have been gentle, with soft blue lights and calm music. Instead, alarms blared through the chamber, and her pod hissed open far too quickly. Hyun tumbled out onto the metal floor, gasping. Around her, other pods were opening. Men and women spilled out, coughing and confused. Some cried out in pain, others lay still, trying to remember who they were. Status report. Hyun's training kicked in before her mind fully cleared. She was a commander. These people needed leadership. A computerized voice echoed through the massive chamber. Revival protocol initiated. Emergency awakening in progress. Crew members, report to your stations. This is not a drill. Hyun pulled herself up using the side of her pod. Her legs shook, but they held. She'd been in the military for 20 years before the cryo-sleep. Her body remembered discipline even when her mind was foggy. A woman nearby vomited onto the floor, then looked up with tears streaming down her face. What's happening? Why does everything hurt? Emergency revival, Hyun said, helping the woman to her feet. Our bodies weren't gradually warmed. Something triggered a fast wake-up. She looked around the chamber. Thousands of cryopods stretched in every direction, row after row disappearing into the distance. Maybe a tenth of them were opening. We need to reach the command center. Another pod opened nearby, and a man with gray streaks in his hair stumbled out. He wore the insignia of a scientist. He looked at Hyun with sharp, intelligent eyes that quickly focused despite the cryofog. You're military. Commander Hyun, correct? I'm Dr. Eunji, Chief Scientist of the Exodus Project. Hyun nodded. Doctor, do you know what triggered this? No, Eunji said, steadying himself. But if the emergency revival activated, it means one of two things. Either the beacon detected a critical malfunction, or we received the all-clear signal. The all-clear signal? The woman Hyun had helped asked. From who? Doc. Ah. Eunji started walking toward the exit, waving for others to follow. The corridors of the beacon were massive, built to accommodate millions of sleeping humans and the automated systems that kept them alive. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows. As they walked, more people emerged from side passages, all confused and frightened. A younger man in an engineer's uniform jogged up to them. Commander Hyun? I'm Minho, systems engineer. The main power grid is fluctuating. Half our systems are offline. Whatever woke us up, it nearly killed the beacon in the process. Can you stabilize it? Hyun asked. Working on it, Minho replied. But we need to access the main control room. They reached the command center 20 minutes later. The room was circular, filled with holographic displays and control stations. Most were dark. A few flickered weakly. And at the center, a single screen glowed bright blue. Dr. Eunji rushed to it, his fingers flying across the interface. Hyun watched over his shoulder as data scrolled past. Dates, numbers, system reports. Then Eunji stopped, his face going pale. What is it? Hyun demanded. The date. Eunji whispered. It's been 200 years. Silence filled the command center. Someone laughed nervously, then stopped when they realized Eunji wasn't joking. That's what was supposed to happen, a woman said from near the door. Hyun recognized her from the mission briefings before cryo-sleep. Captain Ji-won, Fleet Commander. We were supposed to sleep for 200 years, weren't we? Yes, Eunji said slowly. But we were supposed to wake up gradually, all of us. Together. This emergency revival protocol should never have triggered unless... He tapped more commands into the system. Unless only one beacon received the all-clear signal. What do you mean, one beacon? Minho asked. There are 23 ARC ships, Yunji pulled up a star map. 23 points of light scattered across the display, each one representing an ARC ship carrying millions of sleeping humans. 22 of them were gray, indicating no signal. Only one, their beacon, glowed green. They're not responding, Unji said quietly. None of them. We're sending automated hails on all frequencies. But nothing is coming back. Hyun felt ice settle in her stomach. Explain what happened. Why are we here? What was the Exodus project? Dr. Yunji took a deep breath and turned to face everyone in the command center. More people had gathered now. Maybe 50 in total. All of them waited for answers. In the year 2647, humanity detected something, Unji began. A wave of dark matter, different from anything we'd ever seen before. It was moving through the galaxy, and it would kill everything biological in its path. We had 18 months before it reached human space. He pulled up another holographic display. It showed a wall of darkness spreading across the stars, swallowing everything. We couldn't stop it, Unji continued. We couldn't even slow it down. So we did the only thing we could. We built the ARC ships in secret. 23 of them, each capable of carrying millions in cryosleep. A man in the back spoke up. Why in secret? Because if other species knew, there would have been panic, Captain Jiwon answered. She had moved to a control station and was pulling up old mission files. Wars, riots, the complete breakdown of galactic society. So, humanity made a choice. We would save ourselves quietly. Let the rest of the galaxy think we just disappeared. Billions stayed behind, Unji said, his voice heavy. They kept the colonies running, kept up appearances, so nobody would suspect. And when the wave came, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Hyun understood. Those billions had died so that millions could escape. They had sacrificed themselves to save humanity from extinction. The plan was simple, Yunji continued. The ARC ships would scatter across dark space, power down to minimal levels, and hide. We would sleep for 200 years, giving the dark matter wave time to pass through and dissipate. Then, all 23 beacons would receive the all-clear signal and wake up together. But only we woke up, Minho said. Only we woke up, Unji confirmed. Another engineer ran into the command center, out of breath. Commander! The distress beacon activated automatically. It's broadcasting on old council frequencies. If anyone is listening, they'll hear it. Hyun nodded slowly. Good. We need help. We need to find the other ARC ships and figure out why they didn't wake up. There's something else, the engineer added. The beacon's message. It includes our life signs, our location, everything. The galaxy is going to know that humans are still alive. Unji smiled sadly. 200 years ago, we faked our extinction to save the galaxy from panic. Now we're announcing our return with a distress call. I wonder what the council will think. Hyun moved to the main command chair and sat down. Her body still ached from cryosleep. But her mind was clear now. They were alone in the dark. Possibly the last humans alive. And somewhere out there, 22 ARC ships full of sleeping people needed help. Wake up everyone in critical positions, she ordered. Engineering, medical, navigation, weapons. I want full system diagnostics in 6 hours. Captain Jiwon. Prepare what ships we have for search operations. Dr. Unji. Figure out what happened to the other beacons. Minho. I need this station fully operational. People scattered to their tasks, purpose replacing fear. Hyun stared at the star map showing 22 gray dots. 22 ARC ships. Maybe 50 million people still sleeping, unaware that something had gone wrong. We didn't survive extinction just to die in the dark, she said quietly to herself. Behind her, the distress beacon continued to broadcast, sending humanity's message out into a galaxy that thought they were already dead. Admiral Thex had lived for 800 years and commanded fleets in 17 wars. He had seen stars born and watched civilizations fall. But in all his centuries, he had never seen the Council move this fast. "You want me to investigate a ghost?" he had asked Counselor Mora when she contacted him. "I want you to investigate humanity," Mora replied. "They're not dead, and we need to know why they pretended to be." Now Thex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the beacon grow larger on his view screen. The structure was massive, easily the size of a small moon. It hung in space like a silent giant, covered in what looked like thousands of docking ports and sensor arrays. Most of it was still dark, but sections were lighting up as power slowly returned. "Weapons status?" Thex asked his tactical officer. "All ships armed and ready, Admiral. We have enough firepower to crack that station open if needed." Thex clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Open a channel." On the beacon, Commander Hyun stood in the command center, staring at the incoming fleet on her displays. 17 ships, all heavily armed. She recognized some of the designs from her old military databases, but others were completely new. 200 years had changed a lot. "They're hailing us," Minho reported from his station. "Open the channel," Hyun ordered. The holographic display shimmered, and an insectoid face appeared. Admiral Thex studied her with multiple compound eyes. "I am Admiral Thex of the Galactic Council Fleet. Identify yourself and explain your presence in this sector." Hyun stood straight, falling back on military training. "I am Commander Hyun of the Human Exodus Fleet. We are survivors seeking assistance." "Survivors," Thex repeated slowly. "The Council declared humanity extinct yesterday. Your entire species officially ceased to exist. And now you appear, broadcasting distress calls from a weapons platform the size of a moon. You'll understand if we're suspicious." Dr. Unji stepped up beside Hyun. "Admiral, may I speak?" "I'm Dr. Unji, chief scientist of this facility. We're not a weapons platform. We're an ARC ship, designed to preserve human life during a catastrophic event." "What event?" Thex demanded. "A dark matter wave," Unji replied. "It passed through this region of the galaxy 200 years ago. It would have killed every biological being in its path. We detected it with 18 months warning. Not enough time to evacuate everyone, but enough time to build these ARC ships and hide." There was silence from the Council fleet. Then, a new voice joined the channel. Counselor Vrex appeared in the hologram beside Admiral Thex. "You're telling us you detected a galaxy-wide extinction event and told no one?" "Yes," Hyun said bluntly. "Because if we had, there would have been panic. Wars over evacuation rights. The complete breakdown of civilization. Billions would have died fighting over escape routes instead of preparing to survive." "So you chose to lie," Vrex accused. "We chose to save who we could," Hyun shot back. "And we paid for it. Billions of humans stayed behind, keeping the colonies running, maintaining normal communications, so the galaxy wouldn't suspect. They died to prevent panic. They died to buy time for the rest of us to escape." Captain Jiwon pulled up sensor logs and transmitted them to the Council fleet. "These are our detection records from the dark matter wave. Timestamps, sensor readings, projection models, everything we found." On the Council flagship, technicians scrambled to verify the data. Minutes passed. Thex conferred quietly with his officers. Finally, he turned back to the communication channel. "The data appears authentic," he admitted. "But this doesn't explain why you're awake now, or where the rest of your species is hiding." "We're not hiding," Hyun said. "We're trying to find them." 23 ARC ships launched, each one carrying millions in cryosleep. The plan was to wake up after 200 years when the wave passed. But only our beacon received the wake-up signal. The other 22 aren't responding. Counselor Vrex leaned forward. "You mean there are potentially millions more humans scattered across the galaxy? Sleeping in hidden ships?" "Rupless." "Yes, Doctor," Unji confirmed. And we don't know what happened to them. Our ship woke up through emergency protocols. The others should have activated simultaneously, but they're dark. Admiral Thex exchanged a look with Counselor Vrex. The old insectoid warrior's expression was hard to read, but Hyun thought she saw concern there. There's something you should know, Thex said finally. Our long-range sensors have detected anomalies in several sectors. Energy signatures that don't match any known species. Some of those sectors align with coordinates your ship is broadcasting for these other ARC locations. Hyun felt her blood run cold. What kind of anomalies? Unknown vessels. Moving in patterns. Consistent with search operations. Or salvage. We thought they were pirates or raiders. But if they've found your sleeping ARC ships. Thex let the implication hang. Minho pulled up a tactical display. If the ARC ships are powered down, they'd be defenseless. Millions of people in cryo-sleep, with no way to defend themselves or even wake up. Captain Jiwon slammed her fist on her console. We need to get to them. Now. With what? Hyun asked bitterly. We have maybe 6 functional shuttles. The beacon's main systems are barely online. Against an organized fleet of raiders, we'd be slaughtered. You're not alone anymore, a new voice said. Counselor Mora's energy form materialized in the holographic display, her colors shifting with determination. The Council made an error. We declared you extinct when you were merely sleeping. We won't make another error by leaving you defenseless now. Vrex nodded. I agree. Humanity's actions were questionable, but their reasoning was sound. They sacrificed their own to protect the galaxy from panic. That deserves recognition, not punishment. Admiral Thex straightened. I am authorized to offer military assistance. But I need something from you first. Complete transparency. Ship locations. Capabilities. Population numbers. Everything. No more secrets. Hyun looked at Dr. Yoonji and Captain Jiwon. They both nodded. She turned back to the display. Agreed. Dr. Yoonji will transmit all our data to your fleet. But Admiral, we need to move fast. If there are raiders attacking the other arcs, I understand, Thex said. We're plotting jump coordinates now. My fleet will split into search and rescue teams. Your Captain Jiwon will coordinate with our tactical officers. But Commander Hyun, I need you to be prepared for what we might find. What do you mean? Thex's voice was grave. If these raiders have been operating for any length of time, some of your ARC ships may already be compromised. We need to prioritize based on rescue probability and population size. Hyun wanted to argue, to demand they save everyone. But she was a soldier. She understood triage. Send us the tactical data. We'll help identify priority targets. Over the next hours, the beacon transformed from a ghost ship into a command center. Council technicians boarded to help restore systems. Human engineers worked alongside alien specialists. Language barriers were overcome through translation tech. Old prejudices were forgotten in the face of a common threat. A young woman in a medical uniform approached Hyun, Dr. Sora, a biologist who had just been revived. Medical personnel, soldiers, navigators. But we need to be careful. Emergency revival is hard on the body. We've already lost 3 people to complications. Hyun nodded tiredly. Do what you can, Doctor. We're going to need everyone for what comes next. Third. Nodded Han Razan. One Afi Tusdam. Navigator Deho reported to the command center, still shaky from cryo-revival but eager to help. Commander, I can plot fast routes to the ARC locations. Dangerous routes that normal ships wouldn't risk, but they'll cut travel time in half. How dangerous? Captain Jiwon asked. Very, Deho admitted. Through unstable dark matter fields, close to gravity wells. But, if we're racing against raiders, it might be worth the risk. Hyun made her decision. Do it. Plot your most aggressive routes. Admiral Thex's fleet can take the safer paths. We'll take the risky ones. As teams prepared for departure, Hyun found a quiet moment to look out at the stars through a viewport. 200 years ago, humanity had made an impossible choice. They had erased themselves from the galaxy to save it from panic. And now they were back. Smaller and weaker, but not alone. Thinking about what comes next? Dr. Unji asked, joining her at the viewport. Thinking about what we left behind, Hyun replied. All those people who stayed. They gave us this chance. We can't waste it. We won't, Unji promised. One way or another, we're bringing our people home. On the command center display, 17 points of light marked the Council fleet. And beyond them, 22 gray markers showed where humanity's other ARC ships waited in the dark. The race to save them had begun. Captain Ji-won gripped the armrests of her command chair as the shuttle shook violently. Outside the viewport, space itself seemed to twist and bend. They were cutting through a dark matter field at speeds that made even the Council navigators nervous. This is insane, the Council tactical officer beside her muttered. This is necessary, Ji-won replied. Navigator Daeho had plotted this route, and she trusted him. They had trained together before the cryosleep, back when humanity thought it had a future. How long until we reach Arc 4? 11 minutes, Daeho reported from the pilot's seat. But Commander, these readings. Something's wrong at the target location. Ji-won pulled up the sensor data on her display. Her stomach dropped. The energy signatures were all wrong. There should have been minimal power output from a sleeping ARC ship. Instead, the sensors showed massive thermal spikes and hull breaches. All ships, battle stations, she ordered. We may be walking into an active engagement. The shuttle burst out of the dark matter field, and Ji-won's worst fears materialized before her eyes. Arc 4 hung in space like a broken toy. Massive sections of its hull had been torn open, exposing the cryo chambers to vacuum. The beautiful lights that should have been waking, sleeping, humans instead flickered uselessly in the void. Life signs? Ji-won demanded. The tactical officer worked his instruments frantically. Reading. 200 signatures. Maybe less. Concentrated in Section 7. Looks like an emergency shelter. 200, Ji-won whispered. Arc 4 had carried 4 million people. What happened to the others? Captain. Look at the damage pattern, Daeho said, highlighting sections of the hull. This wasn't random. Something systematically opened the cryo bays and vented them to space. Ji-won felt rage building in her chest. Get us to Section 7. And find me whatever did this. They docked with the emergency shelter 40 minutes later. The airlock hissed open, and Ji-won led a team inside. The survivors huddled in a chamber, designed for maybe 50 people. They wore emergency suits and looked half-starved. When they saw Ji-won's team, some cried. Others just stared in shock. An older man pushed forward. Are you real? Please tell me you're real, and not another hallucination. We're real, Ji-won said gently. We're here to evacuate you. What happened? They came 3 weeks ago, the man said, his voice hollow. Ships we'd never seen before. They didn't try to communicate. They just started harvesting. Harvesting. A woman nearby spoke up, her eyes haunted. The cryopods. They opened them, one by one, and took the people inside. We only survived because we were in this section running maintenance when the attack started. We sealed ourselves in and watched on cameras as they took everyone else. Ji-won's tactical officer stepped closer. Can you describe these ships? Biomechanical, the man said. Like machines grown from living tissue. They moved wrong, didn't follow normal physics, and they were silent. No communications, no demands, just efficiency. Back on the beacon, Commander Hyun listened to Captain Ji-won's report with growing horror. Admiral Thex stood beside her, his mandibles clicking in agitation. 4 million people, Hyun said quietly. 4 million. And we saved 200. We need to move faster, Thex said. My fleet is en route to Arc 7, 9, and 12. But if these raiders are systematic, they're hunting our people, Hyun finished. They somehow know where the arcs are, and they're harvesting them like resources. Dr. Yunji pulled up a galactic map. If they started when we woke up, they've had almost 2 months. Time to hit multiple targets. We need to prioritize the larger arc ships and the ones closest to known raider activity. Navigator Daeho's voice crackled over the communication system. Commander, I'm detecting activity at Arc 7's location. Energy weapons fire. It's happening right now. All ships, maximum speed to Arc 7, Hyun ordered. G1. Leave a recovery team at Arc 4 and join the assault. On our way, G1 replied. The battle at Arc 7 was unlike anything the Council fleet had ever seen. The raiders' ships moved through space like predators, their biomechanical hulls pulsing with unnatural light. They had already breached Arc 7's outer hull and were extracting cryopods with precision that spoke of terrible experience. Weapons free, Admiral Thex commanded. Protect that Arc ship. The Council fleet opened fire, energy beams cutting through space. The raiders reacted instantly, abandoning their harvesting operation to engage the newcomers. Their weapons were strange, firing bursts of energy that seemed to age whatever they hit, rusting metal and degrading shields in seconds. G1's shuttle screamed in, ignoring all standard combat protocols. She flew straight at the largest raider ship, forcing it to break off its attack on the Ark. All human vessels. Target the ships near the cryo bays. Don't let them take anyone else. The battle raged for 2 hours. Ships on both sides took damage. A Council cruiser lost its main engine and had to limp away. One of the human shuttles was destroyed, its crew of 12 lost. But slowly, the tide turned. The raiders were outnumbered and outgunned. They're retreating, the tactical officer reported. Let them run, Thex ordered. Focus on securing the Arc ship. Inside Arc 7, the scene was better than Arc 4, but still devastating. The raiders had managed to harvest approximately 2 million cryopods before the rescue arrived, but 2 million remained safe, and emergency revival protocols were bringing them back to life. Among the survivors was a young woman named Hana, a technician who had been conscious during the initial attack. She sat in the Council medical bay, wrapped in a thermal blanket, describing what she had seen. They came from nowhere, Hana said, her voice shaking. One moment we were alone in the dark. The next moment these ships were everywhere. The Ark's automated defenses tried to fight back, but it was like shooting at ghosts. They phased through our shields. Dr. Sora examined Hana gently while asking questions. Did they try to communicate? Make demands? Nothing, Hana replied. They were perfectly silent. They just harvested, like we were crops to them, not people. She looked up at Commander Hyun, who had come to interview survivors personally. How did they find us? We were hidden, powered down. How did they know we were there? That question haunted Hyun as the fleet regrouped. Dr. Yunji had captured sensor readings from the raider ships during the battle, and what he found was disturbing. They're scanning for cryosignatures, Yunji explained, displaying his findings. Specifically, they're looking for large concentrations of biological matter in suspended animation. Our Arc ships, even powered down, put out a specific energy pattern, and these raiders have apparently been searching for exactly that pattern. Minho looked up from his engineering console. So, they're not specifically hunting humans. They're hunting anyone in cryo-sleep? Possibly, Yunji said. Which means they might have been operating for a long time, harvesting other species before they found us. But why? Captain Ji-won asked. What do they want with sleeping people? Nobody had an answer to that. What they did know was that 13 Arc ships remained unaccounted for, and long-range sensors showed raider activity near at least 6 of them. Admiral Thex studied the tactical situation with growing frustration. We need to split up, Each ARC ship needs protection, but we don't have enough vessels to guard them all. Then we prioritize, Hyun said, though it killed her to say it. ARC 1 is the largest, carrying 8 million people. ARC 3 has the genetic repository. ARC 6 has our best scientists. We save who we can, and hope the others survive until we can reach them. Over the next month, the joint fleet raced across the galaxy. They saved ARC 9 with minimal casualties, arriving before the raiders. ARC 12 was found already harvested, empty, and dark. ARC 15 fought off a raider attack alone, its automated systems somehow more effective than expected, and the awakened crew welcomed the rescue fleet with cheers. But each victory came with losses. Ships were damaged, people died in combat or from cryo-revival complications. And always, at the edge of sensors, the raiders watched and waited. Hana proved invaluable as a scout. Her experience surviving the initial attack gave her insights into raider tactics. She worked with Navigator Daeho to predict where the raiders might strike next. They're not random, Hana explained, pointing at a star map. Look at the pattern. They hit ARC 4 first, which was isolated. Then ARC 7, which was along a direct route to ARC 13. Can we use that against them? Jiwon asked. Hana nodded slowly. Maybe. If we can figure out their targeting priority, we can set an ambush. As the fleet prepared for the next rescue operation, Hyun stood in the command center of the beacon, looking at the updated map. 8 ARC ships saved. 7 destroyed. 7 still missing. Their fate unknown. 17 million humans rescued from extinction. But potentially 50 million lost forever. We're running out of time, she said to no one in particular. Dr. Eunji joined her at the display. Then we make every second count. ARC 1 is 3 days away at maximum speed. If we can reach it before the raiders. If, Hyun repeated bitterly. But there was no other choice. They would reach ARC 1. They would save who they could. And they would make the raiders pay for every human life taken. 3 months had passed since the beacon awakened, and the massive ARC ship had transformed into something it was never designed to be. A military command center. Refugees from 8 rescued ARC ships crowded its corridors. Council ships docked at every available port. And everywhere, humans and aliens worked side by side with grim determination. Commander Hyun, now promoted to Fleet Admiral by both human survivors and council recognition, stood in the war room studying holographic displays. Her hair had more gray in it than 3 months ago, and she hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night since awakening. But her eyes were sharp and focused. Status report, she commanded. Captain Jiwon stepped forward. 8 ARC ships secured. Nearly 40 million humans rescued and revived. 7 ARC ships confirmed, destroyed. Approximately 50 million lost. 7 ARC ships still unaccounted for. The numbers hit like punches every time Hyun heard them. 50 million people. Harvested by raiders for reasons they still didn't understand. 7 more ARC ships out there somewhere. Possibly already gone. What about the raider analysis? Hyun asked. Dr. Eunji manipulated the holographic display, bringing up images of captured raider technology. Over the past months, they'd managed to recover debris from destroyed raider ships. What they'd found was disturbing. They're not alive, Eunji explained. Not in any conventional sense. They're ancient automated systems, probably millions of years old, sent out by some long-dead civilization to collect genetic material from species in cryostasis. Counselor Vrex, present via holographic link, clicked his mandibles in thought. Why specifically cryostasis? Because it's the most perfect preservation state, Dr. Sora answered. She had been studying the raider technology alongside Eunji. DNA intact. Cellular structure undamaged. To whatever created these harvesters, cryosleep subjects are valuable specimens. So we looked exactly like what they were programmed to hunt, Minho said bitterly from his engineering station. We hid in the dark to survive one extinction event. and walked straight into another. Hyun slammed her hand on the table. Then we end it. Unji, you said these raiders have a hive intelligence. Explain. Unji pulled up a new display. The raiders communicate through quantum entanglement. Every ship shares information instantly across any distance. But more importantly, they're controlled by a central intelligence, a prime unit that coordinates all harvester activities. And if we destroy this prime unit? Admiral Thex asked. He stood in the corner of the war room, his massive insectoid form somehow fitting into the space. The entire fleet becomes inert, Yunji said. Without the prime's direction, they'll just drift. Jiwon leaned forward. Where is the prime located? That's the problem, Hana spoke up. She had become invaluable to the fleet. Her survival instincts and tactical mind earning her a place in the war room. Our intelligence suggests the prime is mobile. It moves with the main harvester fleet, and according to our latest sensor data. She pulled up a star map. It's at Arc 1. The room fell silent. Arc 1 was humanity's largest arc ship. 8 million people in cryosleep. The genetic repository containing DNA samples from every species on Earth. The cultural archive with humanity's entire history. Everything that made humanity what it was, all in one place. They're using it as bait, Hyun said quietly. They know we'll come for Arc 1. They're gathering their forces there for a final confrontation. Counselor Mora's energy form shimmered into the holographic display. Fleet Admiral Hyun. The Council has authorized full military support. Every available ship is being redirected to your position. We're estimating 400 vessels, 400 ships. It would be the largest fleet assembled in the galaxy's modern history. All to save one species from extinction. It won't be enough, Navigator Daeho said from his station. I've been analyzing raider fleet movements. They're consolidating too. We're looking at thousands of harvester ships, all converging on Arc 1's position. Then we make it enough, Hyun said firmly. We've spent 3 months running and rescuing. Now we take the fight to them. She turned to Doctor. Where? Yunji. You said the prime coordinates everything. Can we disrupt that? Yunji nodded slowly. I've been developing a viral code. If we can get close enough to the prime to upload it, it should cause a cascade failure in the hive network. But close enough means practically touching it. The prime will be heavily defended. A suicide run. Daeho said. Flatly. A necessary run, Hyun corrected. She looked around the war room at the faces staring back at her. Humans who had survived 200 years of sleep only to wake up to war. Aliens who had every reason to let humanity die but chose to fight instead. We've lost 50 million people already. I won't lose 8 million more. Whatever it takes. Over the next week, the fleet gathered. Human ships, barely functional but crewed by desperate volunteers. Council warships from a dozen species, bristling with weapons. Supply vessels, medical frigates, even civilian transports armed with whatever weapons could be mounted to their hulls. The beacon itself was prepared for combat. Minho and his engineers had worked miracles, bringing ancient defense systems online, converting cargo bays into fighter launches. The massive arc ship would never be a true warship, but it could defend itself. Elder Quan was revived from Arc 3 during the preparations. At 347 years old, before cryosleep, he was humanity's oldest survivor. He insisted on being brought to the command center, where Hyun found him staring at the tactical displays with tears in his eyes. I remember when we built these arc ships, Quan said softly. I was part of the original design team. We thought we were so clever, hiding humanity away until danger passed. He looked at Hyun. I never imagined I'd wake up to war. None of us did, Hyun replied. But we're still here. We're still fighting, because that's what humans do. Quan said with a sad smile. We survive, no matter the cost. The fleet jumped to Arc 1's location exactly 8 days after the War Council. What they found exceeded their worst predictions. Thousands of raider ships surrounded the massive ark, which hung in space like a pearl surrounded by predators. At the center of the raider formation, easily 10 times larger than any other harvester, was the Prime. All ships. This is Fleet Admiral Hyun. She broadcast across all frequencies. Today we end this. For everyone we've lost. For everyone still sleeping. For humanity's future. Attack. The battle that followed would be remembered in galactic history for centuries. 400 Allied ships against thousands of harvesters. The space around Ark 1 lit up with weapons fire, explosions, and the violent dance of ships trying to kill each other. The Council warships formed a defensive perimeter, absorbing the initial raider assault. Human fighters, piloted by recently awakened volunteers with barely any combat experience, threw themselves at harvester ships with reckless courage. Ships were destroyed on both sides within minutes. Captain Jiwon commanded a strike force aimed at punching through the raider lines. All human vessels, follow my lead. We're clearing a path to the Prime. Her ship took damage almost immediately, hull plates melting under raider weapons fire. But she didn't stop. Behind her, a dozen other ships pushed forward, taking losses but creating an opening. On the beacon, Hyun coordinated the massive battle while simultaneously managing rescue operations. Teams were boarding Ark 1, beginning emergency revival of the 8 million sleepers. Every person they woke was someone who might survive if the battle went wrong. Admiral, the Prime is launching fighters, her tactical officer reported. Concentrate fire on those launch bays, Hyun ordered. Don't let them overwhelm our smaller vessels. The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed. Brave crews made final stands. Council vessels protected human transports as they evacuated people from Ark 1. The space around the Ark became a graveyard of metal and hope. Navigator Daeho sat in his fighter, dodging raider fire while calculating approach vectors to the Prime. His ship was damaged, controls barely responding. But he had one job, one mission that mattered more than survival. Admiral, he transmitted. I have a clear approach to the Prime. Uploading Dr. Unji's viral code to my system now. Daeho, no, Hyun said immediately. Find another way. There is no other way, Daeho replied calmly. The Prime's defenses are too strong. But I can get through. I can end this. He paused. Tell my family, when you wake them, that I chose this. That humanity was worth it. Before Hyun could respond, Daeho cut the channel and gunned his engines. His fighter accelerated toward the Prime, weaving through defensive fire. Other ships tried to cover him, drawing fire away. Raider weapons tore through his shields, melting his hull. But he didn't stop. At the last moment, Daeho transmitted the viral code directly into the Prime's core and then crashed his fighter into the massive harvester's central processor. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The Prime's systems sparked and failed. The viral code spread through the quantum network at the speed of thought, cascading through every harvester ship simultaneously. Thousands of raider vessels simply stopped, their hive intelligence destroyed. All raider ships are going dark, the tactical officer shouted. They're dead in space. A cheer erupted across the human fleet. On the Council ships, beings from a dozen species celebrated. The raiders were defeated. Ark 1 was saved. But Hyun didn't celebrate. She stared at the spot where Daeho's fighter had been, where now there was only debris and the dying Prime. Mark his sacrifice, she said quietly. Make sure history remembers his name. The cleanup and rescue operations took weeks. 8 million people from Ark 1 were revived and integrated into the refugee fleet. The 7 missing Ark ships were eventually located. 3 had survived by luck, hiding in regions the raiders hadn't reached. 4 were lost. In the end, 17 million humans survived. 55 million were lost, harvested by the raiders or killed in the evacuation 200 years ago. 3 years after the Battle of Ark 1, the Galactic Council reconvened. But this time, Humanity had a representative present. Fleet Admiral Hyun stood before the assembled species, wearing the uniform of humanity's new fleet and the insignia of her rank earned through fire. "Honored council members," Hyun began. "3 years ago, you declared humanity extinct. You were wrong, but not without reason. We had vanished, hidden ourselves to survive. Today, I stand before you representing 17 million survivors. We are battered. We are fewer than we once were, but we endure." She paused, looking around the great chamber. "Humanity made mistakes. We kept secrets. We faked our own extinction. We made choices that cost billions of lives. But we also survived, and when we needed help, when we were at our weakest and most vulnerable, this council chose to stand with us. Species who had every reason to let humanity die chose instead to fight for our survival." Councillor Vrex stood. "The council made its own errors. We were too quick to write off humanity. We should have looked harder, searched longer. But we were given a second chance to do the right thing, and I believe we took it." Councillor Mora's energy form pulsed with warm colors. "Humanity is granted emergency membership in the Galactic Council. Your species has earned its place among the stars, not just through survival, but through the bonds forged in combat and shared sacrifice." Hyun bowed respectfully. "Humanity accepts, with gratitude and humility. We know we have much to rebuild, much to learn about the galaxy that changed during our long sleep, but we're ready to take our place in the community of species, as equals and allies." The vote was unanimous. Humanity was officially alive, officially recognized, officially home. Later, Hyun stood on the observation deck of the beacon, looking out at the construction ships working in the distance. They were building humanity's new colonies, places where the 17 million survivors could finally stop running and start living again. Elder Quan joined her, moving slowly but steadily despite his age. "I never thought I'd live to see this," he said. "Humanity rising from extinction twice. First, from the dark matter wave, now from the harvesters. We paid a terrible price," Hyun said. "We always do," Quan replied. "But we're still here. That's what matters. We're still here, still human, still refusing to give up." In orbit around Earth, still silent and empty after 2 centuries, a probe landed and began its work. Terraforming protocols activated. Seeds were planted. Water was cleaned. Atmosphere was restored. It would take decades. But humanity was finally coming home. The beacon remained in service, not as an ark, but as a monument. A reminder of what humanity had survived, what they had lost, and what they had gained. Inside its halls, the names of 55 million lost souls were engraved in memorial walls, along with one name in a place of honor: Navigator Daeho, who gave everything so his species could live. 17 million humans looked to the future, building and growing. Some council species predicted humanity would decline, never recovering from such losses. Others predicted humanity would flourish, their survival instinct stronger than ever. But humanity didn't care about predictions. They had survived extinction twice, fought off ancient harvesters, and earned their place among the stars. Whatever came next, whatever challenges or dangers awaited, humanity would face them the same way they always had. Together, stubborn, and absolutely refusing to give up. The galaxy had declared humanity extinct. They had been wrong. And now, everyone would remember that when humanity says they're not dead yet, they mean it.